Hello, everyone. I am Lynn with Psychic Focus at psychicfocus.blogspot.com, and I want to thank you all for joining in today. And for those of you that are watching this live or watching this on replay, occasionally you see my eyes looking around or looking to the side. I'm just taking it all in and trying to read the little chats as they pop up and little notifications as they pop off. So I have my camera up here and I have the live stream going. So I'm just trying my best to coordinate it. So please don't let that be off-putting. If you see my eyes wander, they're really not wandering, so to speak. I'm just taking it all in. So having said that, I want to thank you all for joining in and taking time out of your day to come here on a Wednesday afternoon and share some thoughts. So I was looking at some of the recent blog posts I did because I think that's a fun way to decide, what do I want to talk about? What's new, what's relevant, what's going on in the world. And I mean, of course, the forefront of my mind is what is going on overseas. And one thing that I've realized in the past couple weeks that in order to be a little more proactive rather than going back, because I've been somewhat burnt by this before, I am using my words wisely, because what will happen is it might not be now that a certain trigger word gets flagged, but there could be a time, and I absolutely see that coming, where whoever decides that if you say this word too many times or that word too many times, that you're going to be flagged and they're going to go in and look at your channel. And I work way too hard to go in and have myself flagged and go through all of that fiasco that I have gone through and even lost content in the past. So I do want to say that. So please bear with me in my post or even as I talk in my videos, that I do try to be very mindful in how I speak and the things that I say. And I think a good analogy for this would be if we think back to how the war ended up and how certain leaders in Europe, specifically Germany, was treated after that. You cannot go in and say too many things about that former German leader. You cannot go in and dispute events that people think did or did not happen. People aren't allowed to basically have any kind of opinion based around what happened in the war. And I see exactly that as we progress into the future, whether it is a leader over there that I'm just going to refer to as Poo Poo, and we know who that is, I hope, and even a former leader here in the US. I refer to him as Trumpet, which I don't know if that's even a far enough deviation to not get flagged, but I think they're going to be demonized in the same way, that you can't even dispute or question any of the events, even if you lived through them and saw them firsthand. They're going to really not allow you to speak on it, because when you change history and you rewrite the inner workings of it, they don't want you to keep it alive. They don't want it generationally being passed down. They don't want people telling their firsthand stories, because they don't want doubt in the mind. They want you to just spoon feed it to you, and it's an input, and then that's it. So anyway, that was a very long explanation as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I fully see that the censorship beast is going to take over like never before, and it was already pretty brutal as it was. So back to what I was saying about all the confrontation and all the stuff going on over there. What do I get intuitively going on? What's really interesting is I've noticed a lot with different readings and different things that I've done, that someone will ask me a question and I will go in and I will answer that question. And I feel like I'm just dipping my toe into the water of what's really going on. And then as more events happen and more questions from people like you ask me, I start to get a way more well-rounded, full understanding of what is going on. So what first started out feeling like a passive aggressive thing, you get some sanctions, you get some stuff. I see things so much more broad scope, and things are so intertangled, just like a big spider web. This first started out with the whole trucker thing in Canada, which was great in theory. I mean, people were standing up and they're fighting against what they feel is not right. They are fighting against uh, rights and liberties and things like that being taken from them. So I fully get what they're doing. But the bigger question is, okay, so if it's not been shut down and things aren't really different, what's the full motivation here? What are they doing? Yes, some of it's to be able to go in and say, oh, we're going to lock your bank account. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, you're associated to so and so. They try to desensitize you with all these things that are going on. In addition to that, they put in a little bit of fear. Oh my goodness, you go and you revolt against something they don't want you to do. What is going to happen? What will befall of them, their family, their livelihood, and all of those kind of things. So they start doing that, and there's even more to it than that. They allow it to happen because they truly want the supply chain messed up. They can inflate the cost of goods. Go to the grocery store, go to the gas station. They're manipulating us to a massive extent right now on the guise of, oh, well, these people, they're bad and they're the cause of it. Oh, this confrontation overseas, this is the cause of it. They don't say, yeah, we have a pipeline we could open, but you know what? We're going to throttle that back, stop it, because, we're going to choke you people out and make you more dependent and create more hardship, because people that are struggling, they're less defiant. I mean, yeah, you have a lot of rage, you might have anger, but you're not, you're trying to protect your family. You're trying to protect your livelihood. You have core things at the heart of what's going on in your life, that things aren't comfortable enough that you can just easily go out and fight because you're trying to take care of your house. It's hard to take care of things outside your house if your house is falling apart, so to speak. So, they create these hardships. And then also, too, they've been fighting and fighting and pushing to get this green energy stuff out there. Why? Why are they giving you all these solar credits? Why are they just on and on over it? This has been going on for how long? Since the campaigning, way before the campaigning, they've been touting all this, stuff with the green energy. And more than ever now, they're doing it. And so they want the price of gas high. They want people struggling. They want the green energy. But then think about it a little bit more. Why do they want green energy? Why is it so important that they go in and get people doing solar and electric cars and all this? Well, I was pondering over this the other day, and I've touched on it before, but even more so now, they want people so dependent and submissive and relying on the system that, you know what, you got a conservative state that's really giving you some problems. Maybe we're going to go harp a big, dark cloud over them for the next week or two, and they can't charge their stuff. Or, what if some havoc is in a certain area and you don't have your car already charged? You're not going to get anywhere. Those aren't made to go these big, long distances. And so they have all these things going on where they can control you. And then I realized too, because if you've ever looked or been in a new car lately, they are so computerized. They run off all these controls and all these electronic gadgets. It's not like you lift the hood and it's just the basic is what it is. It is so convoluted to work on them now. I mean, they're tight, those engines and all the components to it, but they can shut that stuff down. You have these OnStars and these things that are great tools for theft and all the other ways they market it. But, you're just one Apple ID away from having your card disabled if they think you're a threat, they don't like what you're doing. And I fully think that will be happening too. And then on the complete flip side of it, I was doing a reading, and it was probably, I don't know, it might have been one that was last week or earlier this week. My days get confused, but I heard this phrase about, what's Elon Musk's worth now? He's trying to get this Tesla stuff, these self-driving cars. So yeah, let the truckers do what they're doing. They're fighting a good fight. I'm so grateful that they have the courage to do it. But at the same time, these powers that were, they don't care. They have been thinking about a workaround for this type of scenario since way before this even started. And watch for Elon to go and get his self-driving cars approved. He's probably going to get government grants to do it because the people need their goods and services, and they're going to want to put these other people and punish them for fighting the system. It is so evil and dark. It's almost like people can't even go out and fight anymore because they're already just trying to look at them as these disposable things that they can just find a workaround, and who cares? So yeah, there's a lot going on with that. It was really kind of troubling. So it's like you have these whole, I guess, components of life happening, but then you also have all this stuff overseas. And, I've been really thinking about, you see a lot of, I guess, people putting these tags out there, and people putting, you know, donation stuff out there to donate toward the cause. And they want to donate toward the cause that is very much against the Leader Poo Poo out there. And it's like, why is everybody rallying up, and what's really going on? All of a sudden, you have people talking about it. You sense these areas of patriotism that maybe you kind of look at a little funny, because you think, man, this country's been in havoc for a long time. Our border, I mean, it's beyond disastrous down there. I mean, there's so many internal things going on. But now you have people wanting to stand up for other people, stand up for what they think is right, and all this stuff. And it's like, what's really going on here? And, when I really thought about it, I just did a reading. I think it was today, actually, on Zelensky. Go in there to my blog, check it out. I go into a little more detail about it and have a video on all of my platforms as well. But when I was in there and I was thinking about him and a leader, I saw this image, and I've seen this a lot lately. If any of you have watched the Hunger Games, there is the Capitol. And when you see the Capitol, you see people with their unique makeup and hair and clothing, and a wide variety of people. And when I was focused on him, mind you, I have never been to that area of the world. I have no bias. I don't know anybody personally. I mean, I may have clients there, but nobody that's like jumping out that I have a deep relationship with or networking with. So completely fresh perspective. So I go and I start thinking about, what is the real story there? I'm always skeptical. I would say this blog has made me more skeptical in life than ever before. And that's because everything I look at, I just have a different lens that I see it. I'm always looking for something more. Occasionally there is nothing more, and it is what it is. But most times there's other stuff at play. So, I'm seeing this image of the Hunger Games and the Capitol specifically, with all its wide variety of people in costume and makeup and all these things. And I'm like, okay, so I'm realizing this is what, at least symbolically, that part of the world is coming through us. So what does that exactly mean? Well, I got at one point when Poo Poo led that area, or that area was owned by the area that Poo Poo is reigning over. It was much more, I think, traditional is a good way to describe it. But since it broke away and had its own leadership, and some of the powers that were families, big name families, became entrenched in it, they slowly changed the culture. Well, why do people change culture? Why do they take these core traditional values and not necessarily change it like, here's a rule that you have to wear this, do this, or behave a certain way, but they basically, you start with the propaganda, you make it cool, you make it popular, you put it in their media, you do all these things, and you break down the traditional culture, maybe stereotypes, rules, whatever you call it, and you create something else. When you create a more liberal, free thinking, well, the illusion of free thinking, because it's really the propaganda driving it, but you create this more liberal mindset of everything goes, everything is accepting, all this kind of stuff. Get away from more the family core things, maybe religion, all this. You take what you have and you transmute it into something else. Only then can it be manipulated, and only then will people allow atrocities to happen right in front of them and do nothing to stop it. And I've seen this before, that this area of the world that Zelensky was ruling over was becoming basically a pit stop for illegal activity. The, powerful families starts with a Roth. You can fill in the blank there. That's one of them. I get they have, certain mafia members going over there and managing it all. They have all different types of trade going on. Um, some is living, some is non living. I'll let you understand what that means. But basically, it was a pit stop for all kinds of stuff, gambling, laundering, you name it. And basically, Poo Poo said, you know what? You guys broke away from me. You were set up with this traditional culture. You have mutated into something else that's unrecognizable in his eyes, at least. I'm not saying right, wrong, or otherwise, but for him, when I was doing this reading, I got that he saw that it evoked an emotion within him, and he basically said, you know what? I'm not tolerating it. You guys may have tolerated it. I'm not tolerating it. And it made me really furious with Zelensky. And a lot of hits were put out on his life. And he did flee to Poland. I did get that when I was doing my reading today because of that. He was holding him responsible. Even though he was a puppet that was put in there by the powers that were, he was a comedian, actor, whatever. All of a sudden he's in power out of, he was popular. He was well liked. So he was a shoe in to do it. Not to mention he shared some of the same religious affiliations and background as some of these families. Roth is one of them, and he pretty much was put into as that placeholder. But Poo Poo, he was going to make an example out of him, saying, you know what, this is what you created. That you started with something, and you facilitated and allowed it to go this direction. We're not tolerating it anymore. So I get really fundamentally at the very core of what is happening in this confrontation. That's what it is. It's not, it's about trying to shut down some of this atrocities going on in the world, but it's being broadcast and portrayed as something else. But we've seen that in history before. So all in all, when that came through to me and I had that understanding, it really wasn't that surprising. It kind of was like, okay, well, that makes sense. And that's why I have the foresight to know that I have to change my wording and be careful what I say, because I know there's only going to be a certain amount of time before anything that's talked about, unless you're on the powers that were side, you're going to be quieted down because they want to keep their narrative alive. Go to any media out there, they're going to say the same thing. I mean, we've seen it before. They take exactly the same script, almost word for word, and they regurgitate it. They're not even smart enough. It's like if someone goes in and plagiarizes something, be smart enough to at least change the language, use your own words and convey the same thought. But they don't even do that. They play us to be so gullible that they just feed us the same line, and they keep saying it enough and hoping that we'll accept it as true. And as soon as I start hearing it that way, I realize, you know what, it's not, and there's more to it. So I think a lot more is going to emerge with that. I think a lot is going to be hidden from us. But all these people that say they stand with one or another, I think they really need to look at the core of why things are really truly happening and what's going on there. And we've all heard a little bit of it. And if you go into alternative media, you're going to hear different insights and different sides of the story, get a little more rounded of a perspective. But that is what I've been able to get through the different questionings and different things that have come through to me on the blog. I've slowly started to piece together at least the maybe outside picture of what's going on. And I'm sure as we dig deeper and navigate through this as time progresses, we're going to get even more to the center of it. But on one positive side, we don't hear about the beer bug as much because now they have a new boogeyman to blame all the atrocities on. And they have a new villain that's entered into the picture. So we're getting a little bit of relief on the one thing. So I will take that as a positive. You got to grab them where you can find them, right? So I'm going to take my positive from there. So moving on to a different topic, because I will say sometimes I know my blog can be kind of doom and gloom and we talk about all these heavy things, but I realize too that they're important. They're affecting people, they're affecting livelihoods and travel and families and all these different things. We're all trying to make sense of it and doing the best we can with what we have and what we have available to us and what knowledge we're able to discern from everything presented to us. So I do try to change it up and put a few lighthearted things in there. And I know one day last week, it was Friday, I did a compilation of different health questions. And I think I had a spiritual question or two on there as well. So if you like this compilations, please just drop me a comment and let me know, because I I always like to take your feedback and give you guys what you like to hear. I realize current events are really important, but if you like me changing it up and doing some other stuff too, which I do make an effort to do, because I don't want the energy to always be kind of like, oh man, what's going on now? Even though it's a curious thing and it can get people thinking and talking, which is great. Just drop a comment below. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I learned so much from people, and I love these questions of things that I've never heard of before. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, just because I thought it was interesting and I thought it was a fun way to segue into something else, was someone had mentioned that over in some Asian countries, they have a belief that you should not sleep. And I think I can't remember what country it was now off the top of my head, but might have been China. I can't remember. I have to go to my blog and look again, but I do know it was over in that part of the world that when you sleep, that you should not sleep with your head facing north. And I love that question because it was something I never heard of before, and I didn't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's is there a reason behind it? So I'm sitting there and I'm focused in on this question. And what I do is I'll put the question out there, and then I see what things come through to me. So I'm sitting there, read it, put the intent, and I'm like, huh. When I watched it, I saw someone's body lying flat. I saw their crown chakra open up as they went to sleep. And I was watching this energetic tug that was like pulling out from their crown chakra as they were not knowing what's going on because they're asleep. And I'm like, huh, that makes sense. They don't sleep with their heads facing north because it puts you in a more vulnerable state of being. When we are asleep, our subconscious is flowing freely. We're not sitting there, you know, keeping tabs on what's going on. We're not asking questions, saying things like, are you here for my highest and best good? Are you a high vibrational being? Are you so and so from my past? We're not here to be able to, uh, you know, put all those checks and balances in. So when we are in that most vulnerable state, we're not to be laying with our head creating us to be vulnerable so our crown chakra can open up and we have that magnetic pull at our energy. So when we lay facing east and west, we're essentially kind of blocking that. You're putting that block up sideways. But I got not to really sleep with your feet facing north either, because then your crown chakra can tug you in a different way. And I think it will equate to really weird dreams. That's how it came through. And I don't know if I put that in the reading now that I'm saying this out loud. So I thought that was really cool. And like I said, love these different questions. And it reminded me of a post that I did a really, really long time ago. And it was something about cows always standing a certain direction also. I think that they face, so their sides are east and west or something like that, or they face east and west because it had something to do with a magnetic pull, also the magnetic tug that's on their physical body, but they sense it. And what's cool is if an animal can sense it, there's got to be something to that, because they are way more intuitive than we are. They don't have that rational mind trying to say, hey, that makes no sense. Hey, what are you doing? You're making this up. It doesn't have that kind of a filter. So that's the one beautiful thing about animals: cats, dogs, cows, you name it. And so I thought that was really interesting too, because I could see how the two readings were somewhat parallel to one another. So anyway, well, that's really about all I have today. I wanted to go and just touch base with everybody, see how everyone's doing. I know here in Ohio, it was 70 and I was doing yard work this weekend. And this morning I woke up to snow. So for any of you in the Midwest, that's pretty typical of a week here. We typically have, at least in the spring and fall, all 4 seasons within 1 week. And so thus is true for today. So hopefully you guys are all staying warm and safe and being somewhat at peace in this crazy world. So just do your research, stay informed, try not to let fear overrule you. There's a very fine line between being scared and fearful and living in that fear mindset versus being in the here and now, because we still have to enjoy life. It's really important. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up into what could happen or what we see or what's on the horizon that we lose sight of what's going on in the here and now, and not taking that moment and appreciating it. So definitely make sure to be mindful to keep that balance of enjoying your life, enjoying the present moment, but just be mindful of what's to come, and prepare what you can, but try not to obsess to where it affects you in a negative way that you can't enjoy your current moment. So anyway, that's my little bit of advice, I guess. Take that for what it's worth and how it would resonate with you. But I will leave you with that. And it is at the bottom of the hour now. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button. Like I said, I'm really trying to fight through the censorship animal and grow the blog and grow the community and get people together so we have people to communicate with. We're not alone here. We are definitely trying to, forge through this together. So I will leave you with that. I know I keep trying to say goodbye, but then I have more thoughts. So that's kind of how I work. So anyway, thanks again. And I will see you in a few weeks. You guys all take care. See ya. Bye.